Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia.
Lots of lasers.
Lots of lasers. Okay, let's start out. This is coming from J Post. What do you think? Why don't you take this one to start out?
Yeah, Jerusalem Post headline here: Russia building new laser weapon to disable foreign satellites. Report.
Oh, good.
Yeah, good stuff. It says here, Russia is developing a new laser system in the greater Caucasus mountain range that will disable foreign satellites passing over Russian territory. An open source investigation published last week by the Space Review found. The greater Caucasus mountain, huh? Kind of.
I think it's Caucasus Mountains.
Caucasus.
I'm trying to remember my high school geography.
It's still,
stuff.
Isn't it still the place where the word Caucasian, isn't that where that comes from? Or is it
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
indeed.
Yeah, so this is a racist. This is a racist laser.
This is white people lasers.
It's a white laser from Russia.
We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Jewish space lasers, and we've got the Caucasian lasers. The caucasity of it.
Construction of the Kalina project, which started in 2011, is underway in the Krona Space Surveillance Complex located at the Chapel Mountain Peak. The report found by analyzing recent satellite imagery from Google Earth and documents from Russian industrial contractors. Kalina's goal, as written in a bank guarantee document from January 2014, is, quote, creating a system for the functional suppression of electro-optical systems of satellites, end quote, using lasers. The space security complex, in quotes, as it is described in a 2017 document, is a, quote, special quantum optical system, end quote, to be used for, quote, electro-optical warfare, according to Precision Instrument Systems, NPK-SPP, a Russian scientific and industrial corporation who was given the contract for the project by the Russian Defense Ministry. So some pretty serious stuff here, but it's kind of older technology, isn't it? It's nothing too new.
Well, yeah, but the analysis of this really here is not that, Caucasian lasers exist. It's that, it fits right in with the constant onslaught of reporting on new fancy death machines that Russia has.
Yes.
And of course, we don't. You got the Beast of the Sea, their new robotic armed giant submarine. Now they've got Caucasian lasers. They've got, they're across the board. We need a constant flow of this is why we need to be terrified of the Russians and why we need to keep sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine.
Yeah.
It is a proxy war after all, Gons.
Yeah, well, they've been stymied by plenty. Kalina was also likely delayed by the economic sanctions imposed on Russia since the 2014 annexation of Crimea and the more recent
laser sanctions of 2014.
The more recent wave of sanctions imposed by the West due to Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. And there's a segment about Russia's new space toy.
Oh.
You have something to say about the Moscow invasion of Ukraine?
That last section that you
read
could have come straight out of one of the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
I know of them, but one of the funny jokes about the Star Wars prequels, I'm talking, episode 1, 2, 3.
Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks, is that pretty much the movies. I mean, they're the most boring movies in the world, with the exception of a Darth Maul double lightsaber
is pretty good. Yeah.
Droid v fish people battle. But other than that, it's pretty much just space politics for, a total of like 7 hours. But
Natalie Portman's,
so when we're talking,
Natalie Portman's in there.
Exactly. A good sign, yes. Right? Well, when we're talking, laser sanctions and the creation of our space laser was delayed by the annexation of the. It's very like Galactic Council. I'm pretty sure one of the movies you literally sit through like an 8-hour super boring Senate meeting of the Galactic Senate. So, Trade Federation, you get the point.
Yeah. So the new space toy here, it can withstand an earthquake up to magnitude 7.0. Interesting number there. If it's beyond that, then it must be God who wants to destroy.
It'd be an act of God at that point.
The laser beams are routed via mirrors and enter and the telescope through an opening on its side. Okay, more.
We get the point. It's a laser that can disrupt satellite activity.
I like this. While the telescope, along with a tunnel connecting it to the laser optical locator, LOL, located in Krona, is already in place. It is impossible to tell.
It's just a big joke to you, isn't it, Guns?
What, the Caucasian Russian lasers? Sure, I think it's one big joke because number one,
LOL.
We've already this technology has existed, and number two, it's Russia. Russia's the reason why everybody else has to disclose their laser weapons.
Nuke the lasers. Yeah. Everybody's got to nuke the lasers.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, we'll get to more lasers from around the world, but in the meantime, let's take a look at Ukraine. Do you want to talk Ukraine?
Yeah. Here's an interesting update on Ukraine. You got a Ukraine jingle laying around?
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
That's right. This is coming from the BBC. And they had a headline, this was yesterday, Ukraine to consider legalizing same-sex marriage amid war. A petition.
Number one priority during war.
Well, I've got some things to say, but let's read it a second. Let's read this for a second. A petition in Ukraine calling for same-sex marriage to be legalized has gained enough signatures.
Sorry, I'm scrolling and a picture at the top, a little startling. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just had to scroll by it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm
a petition in Ukraine calling for same-sex marriage to be legalized has gained enough signatures for the president to consider the proposal. The petition has more than 28,000 signatures, meaning President Volodymyr Zelensky now has 10 days to respond. Homosexuality is not illegal in Ukraine. I think the fact that they even need to state that says a lot about the state of the country that liberals are so excited to be defending. Homosexuality is not illegal in Ukraine, but same-sex marriages and civil partnerships are not recognized.
Yeah.
This has caused particular problems for LGBT people. No Q in there, huh? No Q, no plus. Okay, BBC. People signing up for the military following Russia's invasion. For example, under Ukrainian law, if someone in a same-sex partnership dies, their partner cannot collect their body or bury them. The online petition says, quote, at this time, every day can be the last. One LGBT organization has described the petition as an, quote, important moment for members of the community. Quote, it is important that LGBTQ people have the right to see their partner and take their body from the morgue and seek compensation if needed. Oksana Solonska, media communications manager at Kyiv Pride, told the BBC.
It's interesting. So it's all in the context of war and losing your loved ones and stuff like that. Interesting. Yeah.
It's all done in the context of the war. Quote, all married couples have these rights. We really hope that the same-sex marriage will be legalized so people will be able to take care of each other. She added, any petitions in Ukraine that gather more than, et cetera, kind of tells you about the process there. While some efforts have been made to protect LGBT people in Ukraine, such as an anti-discrimination law that was introduced in 2015, its LGBT community has suffered homophobia, intolerance, and violence. In 2013, the country's first official Pride March was held in Kyiv, despite protests. It was meant to happen the previous year, but was canceled after a gathering of skinheads threatened participants. I thought that was a strangely colloquial term for BBC to use. A gathering of skinheads. Now, if this was in America, you would call them, white supremacists or Christian radicals or
no, you got to think it's a throwback.
Bigotry brigade.
It's a throwback term. Ukraine is starting at zero at all this stuff, so you got to skinhead was more of like a 90s and 80s, 90s kind of word, right?
Stop. It's not even, I mean, you're right. It is a weird old term, but it's like, it's colloquial. I mean, it doesn't even, it's weird that the BBC is using that, but they have to say skinheads because when they're talking about Ukraine, they can't say Nazis because that, you're carrying water for Putin if that's the case, if you admit that there's Nazis in Ukraine. And in 2018, activists were attacked at Kyiv transgender rally by far-right militants. But despite the risks, the Pride Parade has grown in popularity, etc., etc. 7,000 people took part in March in the capital, organizers estimated. According to a poll conducted by Kyiv International Institute of Sociology in May, over the past 6 years, the number of people who have a negative view of the LGBT community has decreased from 60% to 38%, which is, by today's American standards, 38% is still an astronomical number.
More than a third.
More than a third of Ukrainians have a negative view of the LGBT community. And, there certainly are people who feel that way in the U.S., but not that many. That's pretty interesting. Some 12% of people have a positive attitude, up from 3% and 3%. And even 12% of people having a positive attitude towards LGBTQ plus peeps over in Ukraine right now. An infinitesimally small amount compared to what is sort of expected in the American culture. Now, I thought this was really fascinating because BBC has to dodge and weave and move around. And of course, this community has been fighting for their rights for quite some time in Ukraine. And it took this war to finally get enough people to sign the petition. Now, Eastern Europe is sort of notoriously, and this includes Russia actually, notoriously unfriendly to the LGBT communities. So the fact that it's being done in context of like, this will help us win the war is an interesting detail. But the fact that Joe Biden and our currently, democratically dominated
White
government
House,
has been sending $60 billion. I think we're up to like $67 billion now. $67 billion to a country that did not have, the rights of LGBT people and, already established.
Yeah, some of that liberal slosh gets wiped off of those dollars and, it just seeps into the culture of the Ukrainian people and boom, legalized gay marriage.
I'm curious to see what Zelensky does with this. I have a feeling that he will whatever the next part of the process is, let this process move forward. Because if he denies LGBT people
he should give it to
the right
him
to get married, there's going to be an uproar, or there should be. There won't be an uproar in the U.S., but if these liberals really practice what they preach here, they should cease all funding to Ukraine.
Well, I think Zelensky should use the opportunity to recruit as many LGBTQ people to the Ukrainian military. Just be like,
that's
hey,
certainly part of it.
You guys can't have children anyway. So come defend the country for those who can or do.
Yeah, well, here's another thing is it's not financially incentivized for the government to do that. Because if a gay person or an LGBT person dies as a soldier, if there's nobody to claim their body or their assets, all that money goes straight to the government.
Yep. There's an incentive not to. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, but this is a tough pill to swallow for anybody supporting our democratic government sending over billions of dollars.
Yeah. Very interesting, but back to lasers. Oh, you got something
hold
else.
On, real quick. One last point. Specifically under the moral arguments.
Sure.
The liberal moral arguments to send money to Ukraine it's hard to justify with this aspect. Now, you can make a national security argument, which I actually respect the national security argument more, but it's this falsified moral argument that is at risk here, and we'll see how people respond.
Yeah. All right, lasers. More lasers.
More lasers.
So Russia unleashed their laser. Ukraine's trying to catch up to America on gay rights. Meanwhile, this is according to The Drive, mirrored on MSN in the headline here. First laser weapon for a fighter delivered to the Air Force. So, beware, Putin. The U.S. Air Force.
Laser weapon for a fighter.
Yeah, U.S. Air Force has received a high-energy laser weapon that can be carried by aircraft in podded form. The news came today when Lockheed Martin disclosed that at least one of the weapons, which it developed, has been delivered to the Air Force for test work. This effort falls within the wider framework of still evolving plans to have laser-armed fighter jets that can engage enemy missiles and possibly other targets too. And they have this graphic from Lockheed Martin.
It's from the sales video.
I don't know what it is, but it's a fighter. It's definitely a fighter jet. It's got its missiles on there, but photoshopped is this purple laser beam.
It's a hilariously photoshopped laser.
It looks like my junior high school intro to Photoshop job of a laser shooting out of a jet fighter. So, it
doesn't even look like it's lined up.
It's not. That's what bothers me about it. It's all crooked.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's one below it that's a first laser weapon for fighter delivered to the Air Force. It's like one of those ground crawlers, a tank. It's not a tank. What is this? Like it's like a cargo truck.
Yeah, like an armed personnel carrier or something.
It's got a bit of laser.
This is more like the type of platform they would have a missile launcher on or something. Right. It's a big 6-wheeled monster armored vehicle.
Yeah.
I find this funny, these sales pictures, because the militarized lasers that, are actually used for this sort of thing, they're invisible.
I know.
They're not, you can't even see them.
Well, this one's
like, nobody will get it. That makes a boring sales brochure.
So this one is called Lance, and it stands for, I just had it here. Let's see. Oh no, I lost it.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, okay. Well, there you go. Oh, laser advancements for next generation compact environments. Lance.
Compact environments?
Yeah, compact environments, which is like, what do you mean compact? You mean prison cells?
What is this, an environment for ants?
The recipient for the new weapon is the Air Force Research Laboratory, which is charged with developing and integrating new technologies in the air, space, and cyberspace realms. So, there you go. There's a U.S.
cyberspace.
Hey, lasers.
They're going to shoot the lasers through computers?
If the direction we're headed, the metaverse is going to be just as real as real life. So you can't die in the metaverse. You will die in real life.
That's some cybersecurity for you. Somebody starts hacking your computer and it shoots a laser at them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got more on lasers.
More lasers. Okay.
More on lasers. This is coming from the UK. Fizz.org.
Ooh, official.
Yeah. Right. Official. Listen to this. Lifelike lasers can self-organize, adapt their structure, and cooperate. Lifelike lasers, Gons. By mimicking features of living systems, self-organizing lasers could lead to new materials for sensing, computing, light sources, and displays. While many artificial materials have advanced properties, they have a long way to go to combine the versatility and functionality of living materials that can adapt to their situation. For example, in the human body, bone and muscle continuously reorganize their structure and composition to better sustain changing weight and level of activity. Now, researchers from Imperial College London and University College London have demonstrated the first spontaneously self-organizing laser device, which can reconfigure when conditions change.
The shape-shifting laser, baby.
Shape-shifting lasers, the innovation reported in Nature Physics, will help enable the development of smart photonic materials What? Smart photonic material. They're saying like intelligent materials made of light.
Yeah.
Light materials.
Yeah, light material.
Capable of better mimicking properties of biological matter, such as responsiveness, adaptation, self-healing, and collective behavior. Co-lead author Professor Ricardo Sapienza from the Department of Physics at Imperial says that lasers, which, this is a quote, lasers which power most of our technologies, okay, that's news to me, but okay, are designed from crystalline materials to have precise and static property. We asked ourselves if we could create a laser with the ability to blend structure and functionality, to reconfigure itself and cooperate like biological materials do. Quote, our laser system can reconfigure and cooperate, thus enabling a first step towards emulating the ever-evolving relationship between structure and functionality typical of living materials. When they say living materials, they're talking about like tissues and stuff. Lasers are devices that amplify light to produce a special form of light. The self-assembling lasers in the team's experiment consisted of microparticles dispersed in a liquid with high gain, the ability to amplify light. Once enough of these microparticles collect together, they can harness external energy to produce laser light. So it's we full on are moving into the realm of electromagnetic life, Gons. This is light beings imitating living biological structures. This is pretty wild.
Keep reading, though. There's a little bit more, I think, that needs to be mentioned.
An external laser was used to heat up a Janus particle, a particle coated on one side with light-absorbing material, around which the microparticles gathered. The lasing created by these microparticle clusters could be turned on and off by changing the intensity of the external laser, which in turn controlled the size and density of the cluster.
Okay.
The team...
Hold on, before you go on.
Okay. Oh, that's the one that you have something to say about. Yeah.
Janus is a Greek god in ancient Roman religion and myth. Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He's usually depicted as having
interdimensional.
Yeah, he's usually depicted as having two faces. The month of January is named after Janus. According to ancient Roman farmers' almanacs, Juno was mistaken as the tutelary deity of the month of January, but Juno is the tutelary deity of the month of June. Okay, who cares about June? We're talking about Janus, the priest father of the interdimensional portal moving god or something. I don't know. This is crazy, but that's the name of the laser people that are being
the particle
created.
that they shot the laser at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty wild, man. This is lasers all day long today. And one of them just happened to be like, yeah, we've made a laser that is basically some sort of living portal god that can react to its environments and emulate living materials. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. This is great. Speaking of,
I had just real quick the last sentence of this article highlighted because it's what's next. Next, the team will study how to improve the lasers' autonomous behavior to render them even more lifelike. The first appreciation of the technology could be for next generation electronic inks for smart displays. Electronic ink is what we should expect to see. I can see this and tattoos and all that kind of stuff become very, very normal. So moving in that direction, folks.